Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Monday, the 16th of November, 2015. This is episode 155 from the Motherland. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. How was your week? Mine was so good. My sister visited, and she didn't stay very long, a day and a half, basically. We had all day yesterday together. She just left this morning and she got in around 10 o'clock on Saturday night. So it was a short visit, but it was good. I missed her so much. We went out together. We went to the zoo, which was fun. We did they have a 4D theater at the zoo, which you wear 3D glasses and then they have other things happen like bubbles fall from the sky and the seats rumble and stuff. So it was pretty cool. And she brought me a bunch of gifts, including more pastries from Chintilla, which is so good. And I don't drink a lot of soda. I drink very little, very infrequently. I really only like Squirt, Ruby Red Squirt, and Faygo Rock and Rye, which is a Michigan product, and they carry 6 flavors of Faygo here, but they don't carry Rock and Rye, which is by far the best flavor. It's a cream cola, and I don't know how to describe what it tastes like, but it's my favorite flavor, and you can't get it here. She brought me a 12-pack of cans, so I'm super excited about that. We used to get Faygo all the time when we were little because there was a party store that we could walk to, and what are like 10-ounce bottles, I guess, of Faygo were 39 cents or 49 cents, and they went on sale at the party store all the time for 39 cents. I don't know, incredibly inexpensive. And the sodas, the Faygo, I'm almost positive that they're all naturally caffeine free. So that was a bonus because our mom wouldn't necessarily let us have the caffeinated stuff, but this is caffeine free, so at least there was that. And that also means that when I am finished with this 12-pack of soda, which should be pretty quickly, I won't have to go through caffeine withdrawals. Yay! Anyway, knitting and stuff. The Finisher Frog Craft Along is going on, and there are 2 weeks from today. So I will record on the 30th. I will close the thread that night, and then I'll draw the following week for the prize, which is a $25 ebook. So keep posting things. You guys are amazing. I really want to get the sweater and jaws finished for this craft along. I don't know if it's going to happen. Probably the sweater, maybe not jaws. Anyway, I have a finished object this week. You can probably already guess what it is because it was half done last week. Child tube socks. The yarn is Sun Valley Fibers in the colorway Woodside Gold. Last week I had just gotten to this point right here, just started the ribbing section. These socks were knit, the toes were knit 2 at a time magic loop, and then the feet portion were knit one inside the other. So it was knit 1 stitch from one sock, knit 1 stitch from the second sock, knit from the first sock without crossing the yarns, so that it would be a tube in a tube. It's called parlor knitting, and that was fine, but the gauge for that part is much looser than the gauge for the ribbing part that's worked magic loop. So while I enjoyed it, and now I can say that I've done parlor trick knitting, I probably won't use it for socks for myself, maybe for mitts, just to, if I feel like doing again, maybe like fingerless mitts where it's just stockinette forever. I just don't think that the fabric is dense enough for socks for anybody except a tiny human. He will be turning 1 in February, so they're not going to get a ton of wear on the feet. So those are those. They're not blocked or washed or anything. Haven't woven in the ends because that's next month's craft along, knit along, whatever you want to call it. It's next month along is the ending and mending, where we weave in ends and mend things. So these are worked on US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needles, and they're finished, except for the ends. My works in progress, I tried really hard to work on everything, but I'm gonna say the sweater probably got the most love because I have that stitch count that I want to reach. So last week I was here. I have finished the main section of the sleeves where you just work straight, and now I have split. Let's see if I can show you in the middle. This cable is very short. I've split for the neck, so I'm working the sleeves parallel, I guess. I do one welt on one sleeve and then do one welt on the other. I don't go all the way across and then all the way back because I would lose stitch counts, or I would lose track of where I was. I know I would, because I'd stop in the middle. So I'm working them parallel, and I have just a little bit of yarn left. I should be fine. I looked at stitch counts and stuff yesterday after freaking out because I'm on welt 43 or 44 out of 60, but stitch counts will probably be fine. I have this much of ball number 6 and this much of ball number 7, which this is almost full because I've only done let me find my break. This much. This section right here using that 7th ball of yarn. So I might run out, but I'll probably be fine. Hopefully this is finished next week and you'll know. But I have been doing my 1666 stitches every day, including yesterday, which was a little bit difficult because we had such a busy day, and the day before too, actually, because Saturday before my sister came here, we went to Steve's aunt's house just for lunch to visit. It's an hour drive away, hour drive back. And I was really tired because I worked a lot this week. Instead of my normal 25 hours, I worked 35.25, I think. So yeah, I was really tired on Saturday. But I managed to get in my stitch count, and I'm still over that amount for daily average. So I'm gonna keep plugging away and hopefully it'll be finished next week. I think it should be based on stitch count, but we'll see. I'm knitting this on US size 6, which is 4.0 millimeters. It's a size down from what the pattern calls for, but gauge. And this is Knit Picks Canopy. The colorway is Canopy, and the base is Swish Tonal. It's a worsted weight, and it looks really small, but this is, once it blocks, it's going to be, it'll block out. It just looks small for as much knitting as I'm doing. I also worked on the Aramis socks, which are by Somebody Coffee. And let's see, I didn't work on them very much because I didn't have a lot of downtime at work this week. As you can imagine, since they had me work 10 extra hours, we were really busy. Anyway, so this is where I was last week. Worked down, finished the leg, started the heel flap yesterday when we were at the zoo. I am probably 3/4 through the heel flap, so don't know, maybe the sock will be finished this week. Probably, because now half of it is not going to have pattern on it, and if I have knitting time at work at all, it will go fairly quickly. When I was running breaks at the fuel center, I was averaging 6 to 10 rounds a break. So over the 20 minutes I was out there, depending on how many customers I had. I also worked on the design hat, which looks like this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4.5 repeats on the main body. It takes 6 repeats and then the decreases. So again, hopefully that'll be finished next week, but we'll see. I don't know. I also knit on. Oh, do you want to know about the Aramis socks, the yarn or anything? The yarn is out of, now that I've totally forgotten what I was talking about, Fleece Artist Trail Socks in the colorway Forest, and it is beautiful. The pattern's really, really simple. It's a free pattern. It's well written. I made major changes to the pattern because it calls for 72 stitches, and I took it down to 60 stitches because 72 was going to be way too many for the fit that I like. And so then I had to fiddle with heel stitches. So instead of doing 4 knit stitches on either side of the heel, I just did 2 knit stitches on either side of the heel. Yeah, that's all that. I also worked on the Samwise socks, which is a pattern by Claire Ellen, Sam Wise, from the Fellowship of the Sock Book. This is where I was last week, this white marker. I finished the heel, did the heel flap. Gusset is finished, working my way down the foot, and let's see how close we are. About halfway, because I'm going to go to my finger and then go probably another ½ inch before I start the toes. These are socks for Steve, and he has big feet. But the pattern is really, really lovely. It's got these kind of tree-ish cables with, what are you called? Seed stitch? Moss stitch on the sides? I don't know. And then it's got an XO cable on the back, which I like on these socks. I mean, it looks nice. I just wouldn't want it on anything for me. I just don't like that cable style. But I really do like knitting these socks. They're pretty simple, pretty intuitive, and the yarn is gorgeous. It's Peyton's Croy FX in the Celestial colorway, which is gorgeous. I also spun on Jaws, but not enough to show you. And I didn't start my Raptor socks, so those probably won't get done this month. Shocker, something for me is getting put off. Whatever. I didn't do any modular knitting this week. Kind of. I didn't make a Barnersine square, I didn't make any hexapuffs, and I didn't put a mitered square on my blankets. But I have something to show you. It is Saturday night, about 7 p.m., and my sister is on her way to visit. I'm sure future me has talked about the trip that she made and the visit and stuff. But I have a finished object. Well, it will be a finished object by the time podcast happens. Once upon a time, when I had just started my mitered square blanket, I think I was 4 rows into it maybe, Amanda visited, and she was like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. She had seen it on the podcast because she watches my podcast, but she loved it, and she said, I would never ask you to make me one because it's so much work, but if you made me one, I wouldn't be angry. Well, I love my sister, and I love my sister enough to make her a blanket. I love my sister enough to make her pretty much anything she wants, honestly. But I made one for her. So This, I'll give you a quick glimpse of what it kind of looks like. It's not as big as my blanket, but it's a good like throw blanket size. So good for cuddling on her couch or wherever. I mean, she can keep it wherever she wants. But yeah, it's not a queen size top like my mitered square blanket is. But it's 111 squares. And you can see I decided to go with all of the large size squares. So these are all 71 stitches cast on, 35 one side, 1 for the center, and then 35 the other, which is the large size squares that I did in my blanket. And all of the yarn is, each square is the only representation of that colorway in this blanket. So almost all of the squares are squares that I have personally used in projects, though there are, I would say, more than 5 but less than 10 of yarns that other people gave me. Like this is from Haley. She did the punch card socks out of that. And this square up here is yarn from Christina that I used for Hex Puffs and a barn raising square. And that's what she sent them for. But most of these are things that I've used. There's also a square in here that's made of 716 knit mini skeins. I used them originally in my mitered square blanket and then tied some of them together to make a square in this. I'm not going to go through and tell you what every square is, but they're all on here. And maybe if I'm feeling really ambitious someday, I will put that on my project page, but that's not going to be today. I've been working on this for a very long time. I'll put the dates down at the bottom right here. I started it only a few months after I started my personal blanket because I had the scraps, the large scraps, and I was like, well, if I'm going to make her one, I need larger scraps, so let me go ahead and start on that. So the bottom rows are more commercial yarns. I mean, there is some indie. This is Science Monkey Mercantile, but a lot of that is commercial. And then it gets more indie as it goes up. Still some commercial things, but less. I am bordering it using Premier Serenity sock in the Violas colorway. So I made a square. This was the last square I added. I did 3 squares this week. The way that I've been doing it, not forever, but for most of this blanket's life, it's been 1 square per week. It did go on hiatus for a few months whenever all of my modular projects go on hiatus. This has gone on hiatus, except recently. This entire year, I've worked 1 square a month because I wanted to finish it in time for Christmas for my sister. Well, it's not quite Christmas yet, but she is coming to visit, and I would rather surprise it with her now because it's so close to completion. So I did 3 squares this week. This was the last one, and it's Premier Serenity sock in Violas. I had a small scrap. It didn't even make the entire square, but I had a small scrap from a while ago. No, I'm a liar face. Accidentally. It actually had a knot in it, so I took out the knot and wove in the ends. Anyway, the small scrap that I had took me to somewhere over here, to here. So I just attached the next bit, but I had a small scrap. I gave it to Becca when she decided she wanted to make herself some thigh highs because I knew that 2 skeins wasn't going to be enough for her, and maybe 3 would, but 3 with a scrap should have been fine. She didn't end up buying the 3rd skein of yarn, but she does have those 2 skeins that she was using for her thigh highs, and I decided to just break the yarn for the thigh highs, and I I've already pulled one off the needle. She was working it 2 at a time. So I pulled one off of the needles and it is right here, and I'm just unraveling as I crochet this border on instead of unraveling it all at once because it doesn't bother me crocheting with the kinked up yarn. It's a blanket border. And I don't really need a border on it, but I like the way that the border looks on the one that I made. I just like the edge. So I'm doing it on hers. I used a size 2 US knitting needle, which is 2.25 millimeter, 2.75 millimeter, sorry. And I'm using a size 3, 3.25 millimeter crochet hook. So the stitches are a little bit bigger, but since this is garter and it'll stretch, I didn't want the border to pull too tightly. All of the ends are woven in on the back, except, you can see, except the ones on the edges, and I will just crochet those in as I go because you can kind of see I started crocheting right here. This is where the end starts, and this is where the end is, and it's under these 4 stitches. I don't want to waste time weaving in ends when I can just crochet over them, which is the nice thing about a crochet down border. I have several pictures. I will definitely take a picture of it completely finished so you can see it. It's been my car knitting project. Worked on it before work when I was sitting in the parking lot and when I was on breaks and stuff, or if we were driving anywhere and I wasn't doing the driving, I would work on it. I also, there's a red light that is by my house that make a left-hand turn. That light is like 2 minutes long, so 120 seconds. So I usually knit, you know, so many stitches while sitting at that light because why not? I don't knit while I'm driving, but when I'm at that one light, yeah. Otherwise I get frustrated just sitting there. I'm not very good at just sitting. So yeah, that's my sister's blanket, and I will try to take video or pictures when I give it to her so that you can see.
It's your Christmas present. You want it now or you want to wait for Christmas?
You're sure? Now that you have a present, I want it. I got a butterfly. Really? It's a butterfly.
Yeah, really?
Are you sure?
Yeah, look at it. It's not mine.
Oh, I was just saying that there's a thing on it.
Well, because it's not quite done. I have to finish it in the car. But I need to work on it in front of you, so...
What is it? It's pretty. That's my socks.
Those are your socks too.
Yeah, those are my socks. I have to show.
Wait, you have lots of socks and shawls in there.
That's my sock too. And it's so cool.
I finished the blanket and Mandy took it home this morning. So I went to her hotel this morning and I had taken all of my random stuff out to the car when I walked Gabriel to the bus. And then I came back in and I grabbed her blanket, and I had borrowed a shirt from her when we went out. I grabbed both of them, I folded them, I set them down for a second, and I was like, okay, I need to pick those back up. I think I ran into the bathroom for something. And then I came out and Steve said something. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you're dealing with someone who has processing disorders or ADHD, which I have both, when we're in our prep stages, it's really important not to be interrupted because we just forget everything. Like when I'm getting ready for work, I really need the 2 minutes right before I leave. I need no one to talk to me because I need to make sure I have my shoes, my keys, my wallet, my headphones, anything else that I might need for work. So water bottle or travel mug, anything, any food. Like I need to make a list first in my head, and then I say it out loud, and then I count how many items are on the list so that before I walk out the door, I can just count like all the things that I have or whatever. And that way I know if I've completed my list. But if someone talks to me and distracts me, I forget what's on the list. Like, it totally just goes out of my head. And I don't bother counting, don't bother checking. So anyway, he started talking to me, and then Mara came upstairs and she was like, "Is it time to go?" And I said, "Yes, it's time to go." And I stepped over the pile on the floor of things that I needed to grab. If he had not talked to me, I would have grabbed it. But since he talked to me, totally just gone. So she had to come here after we hung out at the hotel, because I walked into her room and I was like, "I don't know if I brought your blanket. It might be in my car, but it might be at my house." Anyway, the blanket's finished, and you can see that she loved it. And yeah, I've been working on that for a really, really long time. So that is where at least an hour, 20 minutes every week was going toward for knitting. And that's why I just didn't do any modular knitting this week, because I did so much on that blanket. I have a bunch of stuff to show you. Lots and lots of new things. But I'm only going to show you some of the things that I got this week, because when I went to Steve's aunt's house on Saturday, his mom she had gone, her sister, another of the aunts, had gone to kind of an estate sale. Her very close friend's mom passed away, and she was a crafter. And the stuff that is in there is fantastic. She got me 2 bins. Big bins, and she only paid $20 for them. I'm going to show you next week what she got for $20, and you're going to be like, that's insane. It's not really super fancy yarn or anything, but you'll appreciate what's in there. But I'm going to save that for next week, because it's a lot to go through, and I have a lot of other new things to show you. So last week when I was recording, I told you that I was going to Joann's to buy some yarn for projects. Well, this is Premier Serenity Chunky, and it was on extra sale, so it wasn't even $5 for the headband that I'm going to be making for my friend. So that's that. And then for I think it's called the Woodland cowl, I picked up 3 skeins of this colorway of Woolies Thick and Quick. It's the gray marble. And then 1 skein each of the charcoal and fisherman. So these will all go together to make a wolf style cowl. And then I also received in the mail things from Leading Men Fiber Arts. So I have this gorgeous fiber. Oh yeah, that's showing up well through the packaging. Good job. This is Eternal Kiss on 100% organic Polworth. So this is coming up very quickly on the wheel, because I have plans for it. And then, so that was part of my commission knitting payment sort of things. And then also included in that, because I did all those pieces, I just asked for all the payment stuff all at once. This is Poison Apple on Dramaturg. So it's this, not that color. No, reds are hard on camera. If you watch any podcasts, you know that. So it's it's darker, and it's more rich than it's showing up. Did I say it's Dramaturg? This is also Dramaturg. This is Darkest Hour, and I have 2 skeins of the Darkest Hour. So those are gorgeous and would be gorgeous together, but my plan is not to put them together. It's just they're for separate things, but I needed some DK weight yarn because I don't have DK weight yarn in my stash. Just don't buy it. But I think that's going to have to change. I think I'm going to have to be more mindful about not just buying fingering weight, although I do love fingering weight stuff. And then I received my next commission piece. This is the Len Jerry by Sarah Burkhart Abram. There's the name. Let me find you the picture. So it is a huge lace shawl, and I will be knitting it out of their Ghost Light, which is 80% superfine merino, 20% silk, lace weight, the colorway Fishbowl. Very lovely blue, and I will be using some beads. I don't know if you'll be able to see them. Oh yeah, kind of. They are size 6 seed beads from Bead Wrangler, which is 7, the number, beads.com. So this will be hitting the needles sometime this week after I wind all bajillion yards of that, because it's 875 yards, which is going to take forever to wind, because I do 60 seconds of winding and then I have to stop. I have really bad arthritis in both of my hands, so I can't turn the crank for more than 60 seconds. It causes my hand to hurt too much to then knit, which is a problem. So, you know, I'll get that started shortly. I have reading news for you. I finished The Grey Wolf Throne. It was very, very good. I will be looking into the 4th one in the nearest future. I'm actually taking a break from library books for a little while. I still have 2 out, but I wasn't really into, I'm out-ish of my reading phase. You've probably noticed, if you've watched for any length of time, that everything that I do goes very cyclically. So I'll go for a while where I don't read very, very much, and then all of a sudden I read like 5 books in a week. It's just how it goes. I finished The Grey Wolf Throne, which was from the library. It was very good. I finished Picture of Dorian Gray, which was from my home collection. It was okay. I like classics, kind of. They're classic for a reason, which is why I read them, but I don't always enjoy the reading, even if I enjoy the story. Does that make sense? I don't enjoy the style. But I finished that, and I'm glad I did, because, you know, it's been sitting on my shelf for well over a decade, waiting for me to read it. I started and finished Fairest, which is a companion book for the Lunar Chronicles. It's Lavana's story. She is the villain of the Lunar Chronicles. And I really enjoyed it because you get to understand who she is and why she is what she is a little bit. I mean, obviously people can make choices that affect how other people see them. But it helps better understand her motivation. And I appreciate when villains are humanized. So it's not just, blah, they're evil. Well, why? Why are they evil? So I enjoyed reading this. It's by Marissa Meyer. And I read this book in 24 hours. It's a short book. It's only 222 pages. And then it has the first 3 chapters from Winter, which is the 4th book in the Lunar Chronicles stories. And of course I read the first 3 chapters, and I'm like, I just want the book, which is out now. It came out. But I have to wait for it to come in at the library because, you know, I don't buy books usually. I will probably invest in this series, though, once it's finished, because I'm very much enjoying it. So good. I'm really, really looking forward to Winter coming in on hold for me, because it's already on hold. I'm just waiting. I do have one more book out from the library, which is the, what are you called? Clockwork Angel, which is from the Infernal Devices series, and that series is a prequel to the Mortal Instrument series. So I'll probably read that. But what I picked up instead is Kushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. It is the first book in the first trilogy of the Kushiel series, which is 3 trilogies long. And each trilogy focuses on a different main character. So the first one focuses on Phaedra, and I'm not very far because I just picked it up to read. But I've been feeling like I wanted to reread it for a while. I don't generally reread books as a rule. There's just so much new text to read all the time that I don't reread. But I really, really, really enjoy this trilogy in particular. In this particular country, not in everywhere in the world, but in this particular country of the world, there is what's called the Night Court, and it's made up of 12 houses that their religion sort of thing, their gods, whatever, their main god is born of the blood of Jesus when he was stabbed with the spear and the tears of Mary Magdalene. Those aren't their names in the book, but that's what it is. So that's the earth births him, basically. And then he has angels come down from heaven and become his disciples, sort of thing. And one of them is Nama, and she lays with a king to spare Eloa's life. I'm totally mispronouncing all of this, by the way, but I'm fine with that. And so the 12 houses in the Night Court are based on the precepts of both of them. So they're basically brothels, but not. Like, adepts start their training in the houses when they're tiny humans, not with the sex stuff, but like how to serve wine, how to make beds. Like, I don't know, it's not what you would think with what I've said. I'm describing this poorly. It's really, really interesting, excellent world building, a lot of good detail. I love this book so much. So that's why I'm rereading it. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about it because I already did an episode where I just gushed about how much I love Jacqueline Carey. I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string, and I will see you next week. Bye!